So, here we go.
Okay.
This is for Flyod. So sometimes I like to listen to Taylor Swift.
Okay.
And sometimes I like to listen to Damien Rice and cry with my wine in house slippers.
Sure.
Okay.
But I'm sure that makes you that puts you in common with probably everyone else, or
I
most
think
people.
so.
We all need that, you know.
I think we're all trying to find the middle.
Every little kid is taught that they shouldn't talk to strangers. I mean, do you talk to strangers? How do you know if a stranger is worth speaking to? Hey kid, don't talk to strangers. Where's my daughter at? I'm gonna go get my daughter in here in a minute and tell her she's 3 weeks old, but she needs to know this.
I'd love to give you some kind of answer, like, you know, because why do you breathe? Why do you? I make music because it's what I do. I mean, I've been doing it since I was about 5. When streaming started, or when people started downloading music, you know, in the Napster days or whatever, I was horrified because I had lots of records out, you know, and I knew I wasn't going to get paid on any of those. But I also, so that really frustrated me and angered me. And then one day my roommate, who was a big downloader, said, "Hey, pick a song," and I named an old Rolling Stone song. And 5 minutes later, he was playing it from his computer. And I thought, wow. And so as a music listener, I've loved that whole thing, you know, that everything is at my fingertips. So, I mean, my whole life is filled with people who have like gone about over the decades flailing their arms, you know. Oh, you know, hip hop is changing. I'm going to bring the old school back because that's what people want. That's what they want. You know, streaming is horrible. We have to kill it off, you know. Technology keeps on going, and you either get behind it and accept it or you don't. It's not going to change because you don't like it. For me, I'm just a big arts fiend. I'm a big film buff. I need film. I need music. I need books to read. I need to go to a museum once every 15 years and see good art. You know, I need those things in my life. I think as a society, we need it as a balance to all the other things. You know, the job we don't like, the politics we don't like, the person we saw beaten on YouTube this morning, whatever those things are, we need distraction. But the great thing about good art, at least good art, is that it's more than distraction. It can be engaging, it can be involving, it can be emotional, it can provoke a response or some thought or... Probably the simplest thing to say is that I fell out of love with the subway. I mean, I just didn't need that. I didn't need New York City, and I realized that I wanted a little less stress, and I wanted some calm. And I thought about moving upstate New York, and I had a friend who lived in Hudson, and she said, go check it out. I had a list of a couple of places to check out. I came up here. I was here for 4 days in the winter last year. I saw 6 people. I mean, the snow on the ground, but I saw an apartment, and I took it. And I said, I'm just doing this, you know. One of the things about the time we live in, when I was in New York growing up, I was there for the clubs, you know, the club scene. I was there for the music, for the theater, for the art house films, you know, sitting at Barnes & Noble and reading books. And most of that stuff is on the web, you know. Or I can go on Netflix and watch those movies. If I want to see an art film, it's on Netflix. There's TSL down the street, you know. It's here, it's all everywhere in a sense. So it starts to become, what are you really living for? You know, do I want to spend, you know, $3,500 for a studio apartment in New York City? Or maybe I'll live somewhere else and I don't have to take the subway. Freedom. I think freedom is just the opportunity to express something and not be punished for it. And that's certainly being tested these days. I think the place we're in now is a perfect description of what the cost of freedom is. That we're in a nation out of balance, that there's a lot of violence, there's racism, there's misogyny, that everything is out of balance. And that people, instead of focusing on the day-to-day, the things that they need to live, having shelter, food, basic things, we're caught up in all this other stuff, political points of view.
Hello, everybody.
I'm not sure if he's smarter than I think he is and knows that everything he does is going to be in the public eye and he wants that to be because then his supporters see that he's still with them, or if he's really completely out of control and we have him running the country.
Excuse me. Unlike you and unlike the media, Before I make a statement, I like to know the facts. They don't. They don't.
A fact is something that has some kind of proof behind it, some tangible, physical, empirical proof behind it.
What's an opinion?
An opinion is somebody's take on that fact. Well, a feeling is like, regardless of the facts, this is what my gut tells me or what I want to believe. It's a great way of ignoring facts, and that's why we're in such the mess that we're in.
Don't be so overly dramatic about it, Chuck. You're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving, Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts.
Certainly things that are facts are true. It's a truth that the world is a mess, but I'm not sure that that was any different 100 years ago. We just know more about it these days. We're a much more social and much smaller planet because of the internet and the media. So, people are kind of a mess, and so the world is reflective of that. It's not really surprising.
After interviewing women here at the Donald Trump rally in Cincinnati, the common thing that most women love about Donald Trump is that he's honest. He tells the truth, whether it's what you want to hear or not. He's going to say it like it is. And women know that in order to fix the problems that are facing America, you have to be willing to discuss the truth, the real issues that are at hand, and not care what anybody's going to think about it, and throw the whole political correctness out the window if that's what it takes to make America great again.
And that's called American patriotism. We have to have a love for our country, and Hillary does not have a love for our country.
I think we all tend to do that. We kind of think that we're the rational one, we're the one who see the world in balance, and so why does that person think this could be true, or that person think that could be true? We tend to believe what we, especially as we become adults, or maybe even as teens, we believe what we see the world to be, and are stunned sometimes when people don't see it as well. It's just perspective.
Huma Abedin appears to have a Muslim name, and maybe they're connected some way in a form of traitorism against America.
Well, I just think with the Trump White House that, it's kind of opened the door to a lot of racism and xenophobia, and it's out of control. It's always been problematic in this country, and right now his being put into the White House kind of legitimizes that a bit. So we're seeing more of it than we ever have, or at least more of it visibly than we have, and it's terrifying. I think everybody has their eyes open more or less, and that they just choose to block out the things they don't want to see. I lived in New York City most of my life. You can walk through New York City all day long and not see any homeless people, but they're there. You can just, develop a sort of a mental blinder thing, or you put your earbuds in, and you block out the things that are around you.
First off, I want to say to each one of you that the courage you chose today in defense of our people, our heritage, our country, our values, our freedoms will always remain in my memory for the years left in my life. Because I believe that today in Charlottesville, this is a first step toward making a realization of something that Trump alluded to earlier in the campaign, which is this is the first step toward taking America back.
Anybody who's people when you see people in the media, you're saying, no, racism doesn't exist anymore. They know that it does. They're just saying that because it looks good in press, or they're trying to impress their constituency or something. It's nothing to do with the real world. We all know the world we live in. We know that all these things, all the bigotry and racism and all the hatred and xenophobia is there. We see it every day.
I said, keep your legs crossed. Do not put your hands down for any reason. You think you're going to fall, you better fall on your face. Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you. Do you understand me? Crawl towards me.
Because it's the same thing with Congress. They want to believe that these people do their job and protect us.
Even when they're seeing videos of cops doing the opposite. What does it say about us, Floyd, that we're watching the proof?
It's like not seeing homeless people on the street. They don't want to see this, you know. So they're like, one cop does something and they block it out because they've already convinced themselves that 99% of the police are doing their job and protecting us, you know.
So how do we do better?
Well, that's complicated. I mean...
just some thoughts from your...
Yeah, no, I'm saying, I mean, it's complicated because we'd have to put our phones down, you know, or turn off our TVs, or walk down the street, not listen to music, but actually see what's going on outside. You know, we'd have to not filter the things that we actually see in front of us, and we've become masters at filtering. You know, so we see like some black guy beaten on the highway, and we block it out. You know, that's the skill that we've developed as a race, almost, you know, as a people, that we can choose to see what we want to see.
Hell no, I ain't, David. I'm Joe Love. Why? What's that goddamn flag got to do with you?
Why do you have a
What's
Nazi
it to you?
flag?
Do you make the payments on this fucking house?
No, I don't.
Okay, don't fucking worry about it.
Why do you have a Nazi flag up?
What's it to you?
Because this is America, not Nazi Germany.
Well, don't worry about it. You get your ass in your car and get the hell out of here. Best thing I can tell you. I know you feel me. Fuck you.
Okay.
Where do you live? What kind of flag do you fly?
I fly a rainbow flag, thank you.
Okay, so what does that tell me about you?
That I'm not a Nazi?
I'm not a Nazi either. This is Nazi fucking America.
Is it?
You get your ass in your car and get the fuck out of my...
Let me ask you something.
Fuck you, get your ass in your car and get the hell out of here.
Do you think that Trump, had something to do with all of this?
If you don't get the hell out of here, me and you's gonna have trouble.
Okay.
I promise you that.
I'm sure we would. Okay.
Take your queer ass on, lesbian ass on, big fat fucking ass on, and go on, bitch.
You had a choice. All right. I'm going right now.
Let's say that something happens on the street, people break out their phones and they're all videotaping it. That's a good thing because it gets it out in the world, you know. We're seeing more of this than we ever have. Because if something bad does happen in like in New York City, for example, everybody breaks out their phones, you know. The side effect of that to me is that that's also a filter. So like if you're seeing somebody getting beaten right over there and you're watching it on your phone, it becomes an event like a TV show or something you watched on Facebook. It has a little bit of a different scale to it than actually looking there and realizing that somebody's being beaten.
Hey, bro, you fucking move, I swear to God. Hey, boss. Hey, boss. Get on the ground! Careful, man. 16, 19, shots fired, shots fired. Fuck!
You know, there have been stories, like there was a movie I think about. I remember reading a short story about the world where everybody had to tell the truth. And the world was chaotic, like within 20 minutes, you know. We're not used to that, you know.
And it's chaotic now.
It was more chaotic. I mean, it was kind of falling apart because we're not used to that. We're used to covering our asses and not saying what we mean and not communicating what needs to be communicated. And
these allegations are false, and I need to go back to work for the American people.
It's like the first thing you learn as a kid. The first thing you learn as a kid is to not put your finger in the fire. And the second thing you learn is to not tell your mom if you did it. You know, we learn to cover ourselves. And
we learn to lie really young.
When you say we, you are stupid.
If it wasn't him, it would be somebody else. And if it wasn't this term, it would be the next term. There are always going to be people out there in positions of power who are abusive or not thinking about the greater good. And so he's just another piece in that puzzle, really.
Why is it important to think about the greater good?
Well, so that we're all here, and that that our kids or our grandkids will be here, you know, to have a life and a world to live in, you know. I mean, you start talking about making threats about nuclear power or something. These are not small things, and they have huge consequences. So, it's a terrifying threat.
How do we expect more from Donald Trump if we don't expect more from ourselves?
Well, but that's I think that's the whole point, is that, and not so much for Trump, but that we expect our leaders, our people in Congress or whatever, we expect them to fix things for us so we can stay busy playing games on our phone or watching, every episode of a Netflix series in one evening. We want somebody else to do the work. That's the point, That's it. We're a spoiled nation. We don't want to fix things. We want someone else to fix them for us.
So then do we really have a right to complain?
Well, we've put, theoretically, we've elected the House of Representatives. We've put people in Congress. We do have rights to complain. We've hired them to do the job that they're supposed to do, which is to take care of business for us, So we do expect them to fix things and take care of things. And that's sort of the system we've set up,
Totally.
Yeah.
But in that way, they are our employees.
Well, that's always been the case. Trump is supposed to be our employee, but I don't know who he's working for,
Not working for us.
Yeah, it's not working for me. I know that.
So what happens in a job? When we're in a job and we don't do the job, we get fired.
Right.
So,
well, you're saying that, but wait, that's a very black and white answer. What happens when we don't do our job? I think probably if you went to a lot of companies, 90% of the people there aren't doing their job. Maybe that number's wrong, but a lot of people are not doing their job, and that's why businesses are the way they are, and the country works the way it does, because we're all doing 25% of what we're supposed to be doing. Just that people are people, and that will be someone looking like you in 50 years will be conducting a similar interview with somebody, and the answers will be very similar. That's what I know to be true, is that people are people, and that we're not going to reach a utopia. We're not going to all agree. We're not going to wipe out racism in our lifetime. Maybe in 10,000 years there'll be peace in the Middle East. Maybe, but I don't know. I'm saying that, and I believe it, but I also remember the time when you'd think that we would never have a black president, and that wasn't long ago. So maybe, maybe there is hope. Maybe there's hope. Maybe really there is hope, and I'd like to believe that. Maybe that's what's true about me, is that I think that we're kind of trapped in being human and repeating the same things over and over, but that periodically we can break out of that a bit and do something good or positive in the world.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Good. I'm glad we got to do this.
Me too.